Hey, welcome to this first of our winners semifinal matches between the Tuskers Company and Pen is Out. They've brought me out of retirement here for this armor versus shield likely brawl. We've seen Tuskers and Wangs come in at a pretty interesting angle, haven't they, Bart?
They have. They are kind of cross corner to each other. So I believe that Tusker's goal was to be as far away as possible, which is kind of interesting. It's potential that they're maybe going to try and do a little bit more kiting than usual, as their Cerberuses that they have brought are actually rapid light fit. Though it's been sort of defeated because Wings has actually brought all their battleships in at zero, and then all of their support Blackbirds, which I think Tuskers did not want to see, are kind of in perfect range to be able to get their jams off on them.
Yeah, we see links are now applying for both sides. It'll be very interesting to see what those Hyperions do at the beginning of the match. We already see the Vengeance starting to burn down and try to get incoming tackle, already incoming uh, sensor effects, drones getting sent out, and a Hound already getting headshot already. That's going to be the rapid light missiles doing absolute work. We now see Devon into low armor and Nuke getting nuked as well. Reps just now getting caught onto Devon, but it looks like he's going to drop as you see him in Hall.
Yeah, there's also this the Blackbird is dropping pretty quickly, and the other Blackbird of Nuke is also dropping. So yeah, Tuskers is splitting up and just doing tons and tons of DPS to both sides right here. Tuskers Vigil is actually sitting really, really far away in a corner, just target painting his little heart out. And Tuskers has kind of spread their ships out a little bit. We got the Cerberus flying around, and they're just kind of making sure that that Blackbird, which is finally in a good position, is hiding in the back, and they're making sure that he can't get away from them. Nuke is holding pretty well right here, and it looks like that Pinazat is finally able to apply a little bit of DPS here.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a little bit of split damage going on to Seka Wolf, his Blackbird, as Seka is a better opportunity target right now. Meanwhile, the Absolution and the Hyperion, the other Hyperion, have pinned down one of these Nighthawks of Mirashev, who's taking a pounding. Meanwhile, one of the Blackbirds does go down for Wangs, getting more of those jams off of the grid. Just a classic height versus armor brawl comp, and Tuskers is doing so far a good job at keeping away from the bulk of those heavy armor boats. And
Yeah,
Nuke now himself getting nuked.
they do finish off the last Blackbird right there, so now there's no more control. The Nighthawk is actually holding really, really well. They do have massive kinetic thermal resistances, so the Hyperions are really not going to be able to apply very much, but they've also not been able to get on top of anything. Even though they're not controlled, they're still pretty slow battleships, and now the Oneros of Pin is Out is actually starting to take a ton of damage.
Yeah, one of the benefits of bringing in Oneros is it does have generally good armor resistance, is in that kinetic damage that the Nighthawks and the Cerberuses love to do, but it doesn't seem to matter as Chitaya just gets destroyed. Really just a master class in kiting so far from the Tuskers.
Yeah, and also something that I just checked, Tuskers is actually bringing their heavy missile Nighthawk setup again. I think I might have called them that they were hams, but they're actually not. So it's one of the. It looked like it might have been a rush setup. It's actually all heavy missiles and rapid lights, and they're just picking away at everything but the Hyperions. That Nighthawk is going to drop. Mirashev's is finally going to go down, but it took them 3 minutes to get any points on the board, and they've lost their entire support wing, and the Pontifex just goes down, and their logistics, and now it's just two battleships and an Absolution versus a pretty much intact Tuskers team.
Yeah, and I mean, we can see that those Hyperions are only moving at 800, 900 meters a second or so. Tuskers will have zero difficulty whatsoever keeping at range for the rest of the match and just picking apart the Absolution, now the primary for Tuskers Company.
Well, we have seen a couple interesting matches with uncontrolled battleships. It does look like Tuskers is not really willing to move in there and hold those Hyperions down. I think they're trusting their ability to outpilot and outfly. So that probably will be an okay thing. The Nighthawk of VLD is grappled down, but as you can see, he's moving pretty fast. They must have just barely hit him with the edge of that grapple, and he's overheating his MWD and trying to get away from the Hyperions, because even though it is pretty likely that this Absolution is going to go down, Hyperions are notorious for having very, very powerful self reps. So this could turn into one of those weird matches where we see some battleships running around chasing things, and we've seen that a couple times this AT.
One of the things we do see a handful of rep bots, those heavy armor bots on top of the Absolution, getting rather low. A couple of those Tusker ships, one of these Nighthawks, getting dangerously close to getting grappled, but so far pulling range. Yeah, we just see a lot of tracking disruption on, again, all of these Hyperions not being able to just apply any of their damage from those E-War mids from the Tuskers company.
Yeah, the Nighthawk does get away, so we're basically seeing this Hyperion. He's desperately trying to find something. It is kind of interesting though. Those Reptrons are actually keeping it alive. While the Tuskers did have enough DPS to basically wipe all the small stuff out, we're seeing kind of the downside of running heavy missiles. It's like, yes, you can kite, you can do all this kind of crazy stuff, you can headshot Onuruses, but when it actually came down to taking down big ships, they're having trouble breaking through the Absolution with just the rep drones on him. They are going to eventually get him down, but there's still a good 5 minutes here, and those Hyperions, I'm wondering if they're going to be able to actually kill them.
Even if they're not, it doesn't appear to matter so much. Tuskers is so massively ahead on points that I don't see, even with some major misplaying, enough Tusker ships getting caught to swing the favor back in the direction of Penazao.
Yeah, it is. It is very unlikely that Penazat can pull this off. I just want to do a little bit of hope here. And one of the battleships, actually, Priscilla, is kind of close to a couple other targets. I think that if he wasn't, chasing after that same Nighthawk the entire time, he could maybe grab Silgus here. I'm kind of looking at it like, I think if he adjusts his trajectory a little bit, he might be able to do something. And it looks like Tuskers has actually recognized this, and they're doing way more damage to that Hyperion than I thought they were. So we're going to see if the legendary Hyperion self-rep is able to do anything here.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of damage, look at the attack bar for Tuskers Company and Penazao. Penazao is just so tracking disrupted that even with Null, they just can apply literally no damage to any of those Kaidi Caldari hulls at the moment.
Yeah, they're just, I don't know, they're just getting kind of the master class of them being kited out, and it's got to be so frustrating to be those battleship pilots to just know that you're maybe 200 ms too slow to be able to catch anything, just getting kited around in front of 2,000 people sitting there judging every move that you make.
Yeah, I mean, the Wang's team deciding to still go with that kind of Galente battleship rush after we saw that the Vindicators had been banned out and it just really not working for them. Tuskers bringing this heavy missile, light missile comp, knowing full well that even with, coming in at a very close acute angle on the warp and that favored Penazao, that they would just be able to pull range, kite away once they headshot all of the tackle and more or less run out the clock on Wangs, even if they're not able to finish off these battleships in the remaining 3 minutes of the match.
It is kind of interesting because we've been seeing a lot of shield setups, but this is I think Tuskers are the only ones who have been really successfully pulling off these kiting setups, which does really, really speak to their piloting ability. A lot of our teams kind of in this just today alone have been running these kind of Sleipnir based rushes, these Loki based rushes, which I think I was saying to you, I was like, oh God, I hope we don't see that again, just because it's really fun, but I want to see something different. And we're seeing Tuskers, they're kind of granting the wish. They're like, okay, cool. Well, what if we just kite and use missiles? And that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's good that we're seeing, a diversity of setups still being meta. Like, we just, with Warlords of the Deep, saw, mirror matches of close range ham brawlers. And now we're seeing a kite comp being shown that it is viable against, an armor BS rush still. And we do see good fights in local as Ignacio is the remaining primary ship for Wangs.
It does look like he's going to go for an MJD, which maybe that was the play that they had to do in the first place. Looking at it, he's going to miss pretty hard. He's not. I don't think he's going to hit the edge of the arena. He might be MJDing to a different one, just running out the clock. But I guess the question I have: so this setup from Tuskers, is this something that could beat those Minmatar rushes we've been seeing?
One of the advantages of those Minmatar rush setups, though, is that the Swiples are so fast, especially in speed mode and then swapping over to that defensive mode. Significantly faster than any of the armor tackle ships that Wangs brought to this match. So that remains to be seen. And in all likelihood, we may very well see that going forward into the finals of this event. as more and more bans kind of force certain setups here. I'm sure all these teams are perfectly aware at this level of kind of what reacts to what these teams will have been extensively practicing and preparing in order to get this far into the bracket.
Yeah, it is. It is really interesting. Like I said, we've seen a meta develop today of these like crazy powerful heavy assault missile rushes, but I don't know. It's really interesting. I feel like they've talked about it a couple times throughout the day. I don't think we've actually seen sort of any like true in-game comps. I mean, this is something that Tuskers has brought already once before today. This is something that, you know, a couple teams have tried, and it really does prove. I had kind of written off the kite a little bit because I was like, oh well, you know, it doesn't seem that good. Oh, it turns out that maybe you just need to be better pilots for it to work.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very similar composition that Tuskers brought to Fly Killer, but instead of Arty or autocannon Sleipnirs, they've just brought, you know, heavy missile Nighthawks, and it is working for them, even with the ban of the Sleipnir.
And the time does run out here. It looks like Ignacio was able to hold off barely. He might still go down just because of not getting teleported back in time. But, you know, Hyperion reps are quite strong. But Tuskers does win this 81-17. And we will see you guys in just a little bit after we go get back from the studio.